Good afternoon. This is a review of the pre-alpha build 1, version 1 of Dungeoneer by Bold Action Gaming. PAB1 is designed to be a thin vertical slice of the game, designed to test features and functions so that you can kind of see what you're dealing with here. It should not, however, I want to stress this, in any way be considered a completed product. Moreover, virtually all components will be changed in the final product. Therefore, nearly everything within should be considered a placeholder. That said, I just wanted to get this out there tomorrow before tomorrow's release so as to walk through the various features and add-ons that are included in this over the base version of Game Guru Max and what it comes with for scripts. While many of the systems remain similar because they're based off of them, there are others that have undergone significant overhaul and will continue to be improved upon while the game's developed. So let's dive in. First, a quick overview of our map here. There are two maps included in the PAB test. Map 1 is the overworld, which you can kind of see here. It's a small region designed to be built upon and used for testing as well as technical demonstration. The overworld has several key features. There are huntable animals, hostile wildlife, and a few, if not many, not many, but a few roaming monsters. There's a crate at the start, right here, which holds a few things that are of note and will help you on your journey as you examine the world. If you notice, things are deliberately fuzzy. This is by design. I've messed with the depth of field shader to emulate a cheap pixel shader. In the future, I will be moving to an actual cartoon or pixel shader. So this is not by any means a final representation of what it's going to look like. There's also a small church down that way with a relatively simple dungeon. The dungeon is full-featured, but functions again as a technical demo of what's possible. There's traps, keys, locking doors, switches, enemies, and bosses. They're all on display here. So let's take a look real quick at the weapons. Of course, I have a little memo here, and there is a lantern for you to pick up. Take a look at our memo, and you'll be able to read this when you look at it. But as you can see, combat is meant to be hard. I want people to understand that. I don't expect this to be an easy game. So, opening the chest here, we have several items. We have the very bad bow. It's labeled that because it is actually a bad bow. I threw this together because I needed a hunting weapon, and that is literally all it's for. I will not be keeping this in any way, shape, or form. It is totally disposable. Next we have what is just Fireball, but it's going to form the core of the upcoming magic system. I've already got some really good ideas on how I want to manage that, but this will be instrumental in it. And we also have Medieval Axe. This is your bread and butter humble axe. You are going to use this for pretty much everything. Again, this is a completely basic textured axe. Nothing special about it, right? But you'll use it for chopping wood, killing enemies, harvesting items, self-defense, you name it. There are a few other scattered weapons. Enemies have a lowish drop rate on their gear, sort of mirroring games like Elden Ring. Some treasure does exist, like there is a weapon at the end of the dungeon itself. So moving on to systems and improvements, right? The actual root and nut of this, since I took a systems first approach to this entire thing, is that a great many of the core systems that are used here are stock, right? You don't have to change much. They actually give you a lot to work with the base version of Game Guru. So I've either modified what's there, or I have significantly modified it, or just left it alone, depending on what it needs. So I won't cover the ones that are fairly straightforward and available, like the day-night mode, respawning animals, experience gain, global indicators, stuff like that. That's really basic. So what did get changed, right? First of all, RPG systems underwent a significant overhaul. Let me bring that up real quick here. Weapon and magic systems, they've begun their journey towards something far more impressive. And exhaustion, carry capacity, hydration, hunger mechanics were all added. So let's start with the HUD. You'll notice that there are 4 indicator icons in the bottom right. The largest is carry capacity, which consists of 5 states. A feather, which is lightweight, normal, which is a regular backpack, heavy, which shows some extra gear on it, overweight, which has chains on the backpack, and then severely overweight, which is a chained anvil. Each one of these states, has its own modifications that occur. So you'll burn higher levels of exhaustion depending on your carry capacity, as well as lose the ability to regenerate stamina or burn it at a completely higher rate. Um, your movement speed changes based on whether you're under or overweight, and ultimately you may find yourself unable to sprint, unable to run fast, unable to regenerate stamina as you limp back to camp for the night. Hydration and hunger are implemented using a 5-tier system, though at this time there's no negative impacts beyond health loss at the lowest value. It's mostly just there so you can kind of keep an eye on your stats. Temperature is monitored. It's built in, but I have not implemented it for the purposes of this demo because it's a temperate environment. I just don't care that much. I have big plans coming for that, so I'm going to add more to that later. Hydration, hunger, like I said, no big change there. Temperature, the bar, I don't even like what I had, so I'm going to come up with a new one. And then the last thing we have is exhaustion, which you can see in the bottom right there is a little candle. That is impacted by how much weight you're actually carrying. If you're sprinting, any action that uses stamina, it increases your exhaustion, right? And this is going to be an additional area of focus, but for now it'll impact your health and is also heavily influenced by outside factors. Beyond your standard array of stuff here, you've got your normal, health, stamina, mana bar in the upper left. So my goal is to keep the HUD clean and clear of clutter. I have the numbers at the top there. That is solely for debugging. That will not stay. I'll probably put them on the bar somewhere, but I do not want... I might not even use that. I honestly like the way Elden Ring does it, where you just kind of like invisibly know that you have a certain amount of hit points left. But anyways, let's get into the real meat of this build here. So the RPG systems upgrades. I overhauled the RPG system to add a new statistic, notably body. The core RPG system is functional. I hate that noise. That is something I am going to change before I release this because I cannot stand that sound effect. Anyways, so it's pretty rudimentary out of the box. The bones are good enough to work from, however, so adding another statistic, notably body score, gives me a lot more flexibility in the way the RPG systems work. Each stat now has a significant series of effects for each point spent. Maximum values are 5 in each category versus 10, I think, in the base system. And the maximum level you can have is level 12. I've given you 3 points out of the gate to play with, so don't be afraid to mess around with that. So strength, what it does is it increases your melee damage, scaling up to 25% over base damage. This required rework of the weapons code to function. It also increases your carry capacity, meaning you're less likely to be exhausted with time. Strength also gives you a slight damage reduction of up to 10%, so it acts as a form of like functional armor. In the future, it will be used for feats of strength, allowing gated challenges like lift this boulder, which requires, say, 2 to 5 strength or whatever to perform the act. Dexterity, that gives a similar bonus to ranged weapon damage, notably non-magical ranged weapon damage, up to 25%. It's useful for bows and thrown weapons. Again, I had to modify the weapon code specifically for this so that I could make it work. It also provides up to 10% increased move speed. So you'll be able to run faster, move faster, and just generally get along better. It'll improve your stamina capacity, though it'll likely be revisited in the future. I'm not very happy with the base implementation currently of stamina usage. And like strength, this will also be used for feats of dexterity such as lockpicking, trap disarming, and other proficiencies. Intelligence, like other stats, impacts your magic damage, increasing it up to 25%. Your mana capacity improves as well, but here again, I'm likely to change that because I'm going to be revamping the magic system really soon. You also have decreased experience cost to level, which is a pretty nice bonus. It gives you up to 25% improvement in that category. And again, I'll be using this for feats of intelligence, like knowledge of the arcane, wielding particularly powerful magic, things like that. So last is the body score, which is a new addition to the game. Having played numerous pen and paper systems for several decades, I felt this was a proper addition to the design of the RPG system. Body is the only item that doesn't affect specific checks, but its overall benefits will be beneficial in every respect. So it's just good all around, right? How does it help you, right? First, it gives you more hit points, as you saw, and second, it will increase your exhaustion capacity up to 40% or more. So you'll be able to go further, do more, and just generally be able to exist longer without having to rest in the world. Lastly, it'll reduce the toxin damage by up to 50%. I am planning, however, to add a mild temperature resistance bonus of up to like 10%, to just kind of indicate that you're more capable of enduring things like physical changes. So a lot of core Lua code changes were made for this system to function. A lot more work is still needed. For this moment, I again have just provided like 3 points to play with, so you can test it out to your heart's content. So take a look, explore the world, and at the start, most of the systems in the game are literally right there for you to examine. Rest in the bed, drink from the well, kill a rabbit for food. Thanks again for taking the time to check this out. I realize it's a pretty rough cut right now, but I'm going to be iterating rapidly on these systems for the next year or so. So expect some pretty significant improvements. For example, coming up in pre-alpha build 2, aka PAV2, I'm going to be overhauling the magic system, the inventory system. I'm going to be adding equipable armor, clothing, and more. Weapons are going to have wear and tear, along with repair stations where you can work on them. A series of secondary stats will be added, like blacksmithing, cooking, and other skill-driven stats to help fill out the roster. So, again, thanks for checking it out. I hope you enjoy it. I look forward to bringing you more and more as time goes on.